Welcome to the Pregnantpreneur Project, your request to the most sacred adventure of your lifetime. Here is your host, Blanca Vergara.
Hello everybody and welcome. This is your host, Blanca Vergara, and this is another edition of the Pregnantpreneur Project. This occasion we have a brilliant lady based in Canada. Her name is Susana Leclair, and she works in the world of divine parenting. And I am absolutely delighted that she has agreed to join us and to share with us what she is being given. Susan, thank you very much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Blanca, for having me. I'm feeling just very energized right now. There's a lot of energy moving, and so I feel like we are in the right place at the right time right now.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So, Susan, tell us please more about divine parenting. What is that? Give us a little introduction of what you're doing. What's divine parenting?
Sure. Divine parenting is very much, it's a non-religious, I would say quasi-spiritual, but mostly intuitive type of parenting that is more about, firstly, starting with ourselves. So it's the process of divine parenting ourselves first, and then taking that and moving it outwards, outside of ourselves. So it would include divine parenting others, which is partly children, but it's also divine parenting the infrastructures that are here and meant to support us, like the education system, the government system, the medical system, things like that. Mm-hmm. And then taking it to the other level, which is the all-inclusive level, which is divine parenting the planet. Now, from a parenting definition, what is in harmony with the divine parenting program is the definition goes like this. Parenting is the process of promoting and supporting the wellness and development of another or self in all areas, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, financial, etc. Mm-hmm. And this program is actually an initiative. So the Divine Parenting Program is the Divine Parenting Initiative. An initiative is about taking action. So, mm-hmm. So the first part of it is connecting to our intuition. The second part of it is supporting the wellness of everyone and everything. And then the third part is actually taking action to see that happens. I came into this concept. It was kind of like a gift to me as part of a self-mastery program that I was in about 7 years ago. And and I was doing an exercise in this program called automatic writing. Some people would call it channeling, whatever. So I just started to do this writing, and out of my hand came the concept of divine parenting. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm asking myself. And the words came out, when the children's needs are tended to, then the world will change. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, okay, so what are the needs, And it was like, well, it's not what you think they are. It's not the simple, basic, food, shelter, clothing, and it wouldn't be in that order anyway. So it's like, okay, what are you talking about? And I started bringing through the needs, what they are, and the oversouling need. That's what I call it. It's kind of like the umbrella need. Is sanctuary. Yeah.
That is so funny, because I came up with the idea of the Pregnantpreneur Sanctuary. So that's really interesting that we're totally aligned. Yeah. But let's hear it from you. What exactly is a sanctuary in this context?
Okay. Sanctuary is this feeling of neutrality. So it's not this, exuberant joy on the one side, and it isn't extreme pain on the other side. So when we think of sanctuary, we just think of this completely neutral space. So if I'm in my own home, I should feel sanctuary. So people relate sanctuary to feeling safe and feeling secure. I think that's an element of it, but really it's this space of neutrality. It's this space where we can go and everything drops away. It's like I don't feel stress in this situation, and my body can be in harmony with itself. It's a really interesting place. So if we take that need and we bring it into everything in our life, so I say, okay, if I go to school, my need is sanctuary. So when I go to school, I want to feel safe and secure. I want to know that I'm receiving what it is I'm there for, which is knowledge, interaction with others, things like that. And sanctuary is my most basic need there. So when I play with other children, I want to have, a positive experience or a neutral experience versus a negative or super positive, because if I have a super positive, then it's overmet, and that's out of balance, actually. So, yeah.
But this is very interesting because thinking about the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
And, thinking about pregnancy, I see a lot of really need for yin, because we need to be more private, we need to be more quiet, we need to be more calm.
Yes.
And the world is telling us the opposite. No? You have to be happy, you have to be outside, you have to be in the spotlight, and particularly if you're in business, they really push you that direction. And you're talking about being somehow in the middle.
Yes.
And that's really interesting from my point of view. How do you see, or how is it managed in the concept of divine parenting, the two opposites, if you wish, stress and relaxation, public and private, yin and yang, darkness and light? How do you see that?
Well, I see that as part of our human life, and so from a divine nature, it really is going into the intuitive side and saying, is this for my highest in this moment, and what am I receiving from this? Because everything is here to teach. So when I'm having these experiences, what is that teaching me? How does that feel in my body? Will I come back into there's a word there that I'm not coming into. It's homeostasis is the word. Homeostasis is coming back into alignment. So if I go into some situation and it causes me stress, will I bounce back from that really quickly? And if not, how come? So homeostasis is the goal. Homeostasis is that the body and the mind and the soul and everything can come back into that space of sanctuary at any given time.
Yeah. But still you need the two of them to actually be in balance.
Yes. And it's like the law of attraction would say, you need the contrast in order to know what you desire. So it is that balance. It's the black and white, the dark and light, all of that. It's all necessary. And so if we understand that our need is sanctuary, then when we're really out of alignment, or it feels like something's really heavy, or it feels, just overwhelming, it's like bringing that conscious awareness back that is our need. And so what divine parenting encourages is for people to have a conscious awareness of what they're needing in that moment, and to somehow find a way to meet that need.
But this is so profound. Know what you need.
Yeah.
I suffer of eating disorders. Basically, I could tell you that all my life until now. I think now I'm really healed. But I just told the story just right now because one of my customers has a customer who has eating disorder.
Yes.
So I was sharing all my story from 3 years old to now.
Wow.
So many, society is actually helping us to disconnect from what we need.
Yes.
And I give this one of eating disorders because it's just so horrible. I see little children eating candy like crazy.
Yes.
Because they are disconnected from what they actually need.
Yes.
And adolescent girls not eating because they are disconnected from what they need. So this sounds simple to know what you need, but it's not simple at all. I find it actually very complex in this society. What does divine parenting teaches us, or in which way it helps us to connect with what we need?
Okay. Well, divine parenting invites us to discover what it is we need, and the world supports that discovery in that it will provide us with the opportunities to discover it. So I would say a lot of people on the planet are not eating for their body type or their vibration or whatever, and it is partially our programming that comes in, and that's a huge aspect of divine parenting that we look at is programming and projection. So you're well aware of media and how that projects onto us, other things like that. But it is our parents' belief systems that will be projected. It is all the cultures and micro and macro cultures that will project their belief systems onto us. And it's that state of confusion that we get into. It's like, well, what is truth and what is not truth? Because as time has progressed, you probably are aware that certain things will be decided that it's healthy for us to do, and then all of a sudden there'll be a counterpoint to that, and they'll say, well, no, that's not what you should have been doing. You should have been doing something different all along. And you're like, but I'm only, I'm trying to do what is right for, what people tell me to do and things like that. But it really is an intuitive process. And I recently came across a program called Intuitive Eating.
Awesome.
And that's really important because I was told a long time ago, I went to a workshop around children, pardon me, and it was around the indigo children, which is just a label, it's just a label for me because I had a teacher teach us that there were 77 waves of the new children that had come in since 1979. So there were 77 different types of children with different aspects, not just indigo, crystal, things like that. And I've been waiting for her book so I can share her book, but it isn't completed yet. So anyway, what that is if there are 77, let's go with that. If there are 77 different types of children that have come in since 1979, and they're all in a classroom, and let's say there's 30 students in a classroom, and each student is different, pardon me, then how can we meet all the needs of every one of those children? One teacher trying to teach a curriculum and trying to teach it, pardon me, in one way, that it's virtually impossible for that teacher to do. So
and we just scratching the surface because we're just talking about food.
Yes.
Well, of course, it goes to many other levels of you need to move, or you need to sit down, or you need a hug, or you need to cry, or you need to sing, or there are so many needs that the individual could have.
Yes. And there are some foundational needs that every physical human would have. And that's what divine parenting tries to focus on, is the common needs. So if the common need is sanctuary, when we take sanctuary into every other need, they really are in harmony with each other. So my body needs sanctuary. It needs the ability to, be satiated, to have nourishment, to have exercise, things like that. Movement is important. So if I have all those needs regarding my body, then it's to pay attention to that. And I know for myself, I've virtually ignored my body for most of my life. And because it's like I have this really high connection to something outside of myself. And so I haven't been paying attention to my body. So that's causing me a bit of issue, because there's a lot of information in the physical body that can be tapped into with regards to the world and the planet. And so coming back into the body, pardon me, I think I'm clearing something. So I apologize for that. And I'm going to speak to pregnancy right now, because pregnancy is bringing us back into our bodies.
Yes.
It's definitely calling us back into our bodies. And even if right now I'm currently not pregnant, but I am pregnant with ideas, and it's the ideas are calling me back into my body. Yeah. And so when I'm in my body, I can become more conscious of what those needs are, because my body is like an antenna.
Absolutely.
And so the antenna, especially on an emotional level, the antenna is sometimes it vibrates at a really high level where I can connect emotionally to everything and everyone around me. And it becomes overwhelming sometimes. So where is my sanctuary? If I'm an extremely empathic person, which I am, and so I can walk in a room and I can feel immediately, who's feeling what in that room. It's like, where is my sanctuary? My sanctuary is in the acknowledgement that I'm empathic and I just walked into a room and I'm feeling everybody. So my sanctuary is, this doesn't belong to me. Yeah. And so now what? So we are very powerful beings. We do have magic within us. We could say, okay, I'm going to turn on my little force field right now. Right? And not.
I love how you say it.
Well, it's very childlike, right? And the children are calling us to be childlike. Not child.
Yeah, but it's very wise.
Yes, and not childish, but childlike.
Yeah. Because I don't find that, and now that I have a son, I'm even more appreciative of children, because they are not stupid. On the contrary, they are extremely intelligent.
Yes.
Extremely intelligent, very, very wise.
Yes.
And the younger they are, the wiser they are.
Yes. And the reason that they're so wise is because they haven't been completely programmed yet. And their wisdom will wane. It will start to dissipate when they give in to the programming around them. And so for us as conscious adults, it's really important for us to pay attention to when we're programming them.
Oh, please, a word on that subject. What do we do? I mean, there are many pregnant women, and they are already parenting from this very moment, even from before conception, we are parenting. So what is your word on divine parenting to these new mothers?
Oh, there's a lot of energy coming in now. It's beautiful, really beautiful. The gift that you give by carrying this child within you, by conceiving the child in your mind first, the gift that you give this child in this moment is life, because they are living through you in this moment. What we can do as humanity for these children, because not only is it the mother carrying the child that is impacting the child during gestation, but all people around that mother, we could all gift that child with almost like an honoring of their wisdom immediately. And so there is this presence that we can have, which is a combination of honoring the wisdom of our own inner child. At the same time, we are honoring the wisdom of this child growing inside of us. Mm-hmm. And when we honor someone, it's almost like, imagine someone outside of ourselves that you believe to have great wisdom. So it could be someone you admire. It could be, let's say it's Gandhi or Mother Teresa or whatever. That person might be sitting outside of you, but that person is inside of you. Mm-hmm. And so how would you speak to Gandhi or Mother Teresa or Jesus or angels, or how would you speak to them? That's what the children are asking us to do, is to speak to them with that kind of reverence. Not that they are above us or beyond us, but neither are they beneath us. Mm. They are in that equal space of complete wisdom. And so how would we honor that?
In my perception, they are totally connected to infinite wisdom.
Yes.
Because of what you're saying, that they are not yet programmed.
No.
So what you're saying is, how would you speak to them? This is just so kind of clear to me.
Yes. This aspect, yes.
With that consciousness, then your conversation changes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because now it is wisdom to wisdom that you're speaking. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so when we recognize, and this is really big, if we say to ourselves, our children will teach us about ourselves. So what I'm going to say is, when we're nurturing our body with the baby inside, because we want to give that child the best physical start that we possibly can, it's like, why would we not do that all the time for ourselves? So the conversation is really the child to us versus us to the child. And so it's a drawing of information and I guess light into our being in order to shift our thought processes, in order to disengage our programming. Because I'm going to give some examples. Mm-hmm. If we go, let's say the child is born and we go to a public gathering, and the child decides they're not comfortable in that public gathering. They don't really want to be there. They're uncomfortable. They're hot. They just want to go play somewhere else. And so they try and tell us that in their nonverbal way. And so our programming says the child must be quiet. The child must come along. The child, must be there because we're supposed to be there because maybe there's an obligation attached. Yeah. Right? So maybe it's some birthday party and we had to bring the child along because that person really wanted to see the child, but the child is really not happy there. And so the child is being forced into this location, this place, this activity, and yet that's not in harmony with who they are in this moment. Right? But our programming says I must keep my child quiet. I must make my child want to be there. I must, there's force involved with that.
But this is very interesting what you're saying. I come up with a kind of different example to yours, that we're supposed to be polite and we're supposed to be social, and because we're supposed to be social, then we subject ourselves to things that we ourselves don't want. Lately I was in a gathering of mothers and they started talking about pedophiles.
Yes.
I took all my social education or my kindness, and I stood up and walked away from that because it was just so disgusting, so negative, so upstream, so against my well-being,
yes.
that I prefer to look rude than to risk my spiritual well-being.
Yes, yes. And there are two aspects to that want to come through in this moment. One is you were needing sanctuary in that moment. Yeah. And you met that need. Yeah. And you did that for you and your baby.
Yeah, of course.
Because that energy was being transmitted to the baby as well. And so the law of attraction says what you focus on expands. Yeah. And so what you're choosing to focus on is something lighter.
Yeah.
And yet some people would say, but if we don't pay attention to what's happening in the world, then how will it ever get corrected? Right? Mm-hmm. And so there's those two sides. There's that, the masculine side that says, we're going to go to war over this. We're going to fix this. And the feminine side that says, I'm going to love this free. Because if and you were witnessing that pedophilia is not sanctuary.
Definitely.
That's a mother's greatest fear. One of them, is to have that happen to their child. And so what's being shown to you is this other side, this fear side. And so how, as a spiritual being, do you reconcile, what happens in the world to what's going on in your home, etc. Right? It's like, how do we protect the children, but is that counterintuitive?
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally counterintuitive because the fixed mentality is just so pervasive wherever we go.
Right.
And how not fixing it if we're talking about our children.
Right. Right.
But I think the point is that there is another way of fixing it, which is what you started with, with your example. I'm in this public space, my baby's crying, he is telling me he needs sanctuary.
Yes.
I should listen.
Yes. Yes. But as adults, we say, but we have the power. And the child should behave. Right? Because me as an adult, this is where I want to be, which is really your inner child saying, maybe I'd like to be here. Maybe I'm programmed to be here. Right? So when we're in a space that says I have to stay, when our child is saying I have to go, what is running us?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a question.
Yeah.
What a question. I want to put a light on that one.
Yeah.
What is running us?
Yeah.
Because that means that we're not running ourselves.
No.
And it's not a consciousness, it's a what? It's almost like an object.
Yes. Yeah.
This is very powerful, Susana. It's,
yes.
What is running us?
Yes.
What is owning us? What is controlling us?
Yes. Yes.
Now now I'm starting to get divine parenting.
Yes, and you always did have that concept in you. It was just it wasn't in your awareness, but it is now.
Yeah.
So it's like when we go to the doctor, and we have to wait for 45 minutes, and we have to keep the child calm and quiet for 45 minutes because the doctor is in this space that we put above us, right? So we bear with that and we say, okay, I'm meeting the doctor's needs right now. And then we go into the doctor's office and they only have 5 minutes to give us. And we put up with that, right? And it's like, but this is my life. This is my child's life. And then the doctor will make a decision about my life and my child's life because I give that person authority to do so. Right?
Totally.
So,
let me share with you that I basically just arrived from seeing the midwife.
Yeah.
And I'm so blessed with this group of midwives. The one last time told me that that there was this new rule in the Netherlands to do this diabetes test.
Okay.
And the diabetes test takes, several hours without eating and makes you really extremely bad, basically, just by not eating several hours as a pregnant woman. I cannot do it, I really have to eat very frequently.
Yeah.
And I researched on the test, and it has, there are some risk factors that say that the woman could have diabetes, pregnancy diabetes.
Yes.
And I do not meet any of them. None.
Ah.
None.
Wow.
And there is no law that I should do it.
Yeah.
And we were very rebels, or, we just didn't want somebody else to run off.
Yes. Yeah.
My husband and I decided we're not doing it.
Ah.
And we went today, we just said, we chose not to do it. And I was so positively impressed with my midwife.
Yes.
Of course that is your prerogative. And it is your responsibility, and that is fine.
Yes.
Oh, I almost kissed her feet because then I felt really safe, and I said, well, if she respects me to that level and saying that's my responsibility,
Yes.
I feel safe.
Yes.
And that's something I believe that everybody deserves with their doctors, with their birth practitioners. We need that. We deserve that.
Yes. So you found sanctuary with your practitioner.
Yeah.
Yes. And she honored your choice because she's honoring your inner authority over the external authority.
Yeah.
And that is, when we talk about responsibility, it's almost like it's not really responsibility so much as it is your divine right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Inner authority, responsibility, divine right.
Yes. You are a sovereign being, and we have been programmed out of that belief system.
Yeah, yeah. Because you see, talking about this specific subject of the test of diabetes, I feel great. I feel younger than I ever been before.
Yeah.
I have an excellent weight, excellent blood pressure, etc. I'm 42 and I don't have gray hair. I can continue that my health is great.
Yeah.
So I know that I am okay.
Yeah.
And I know that I don't have the pregnancy diabetes, but still I went to check. I do use my mind, and I went to check all the risk factors.
Yeah.
And it was, taking my intuition and taking my intelligence, putting them together and taking a decision. And that felt really good, that my intuition was always right.
Yes. Yes. And it's beautiful when you're in total harmony and alignment with that. It just feels so good. Yeah.
And it's this concept that you are a sovereign being. You have that divine right of being responsible for yourself, of listening to your inner authority. And I think if you do that, the world will be your partner in making the decisions that you need to make harmonious to that inner knowing.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting because I was given the information a long time ago that, and it's hard to believe this maybe, but that children need never to cry. There is never a need for a child to cry.
I totally agree with you.
And so it's like, if we were in complete harmony and alignment with the child's needs, we would know it in advance. So when a child is first born, I think there's 5 things that they need. They need sleep. They need to be warm. They need to be dry. They need to, have food. And I can't remember what the other one is.
Yeah.
Oh,
a hug.
Like, really, the basic, right? And
and
we can intuit all of that. They need never cry.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. In my little experience as a mother, and I'm not a doctor, but in my little experience, I've noticed that whenever a child is crying, whenever my son cries, he has a legitimate reason.
Yes.
Completely legitimate reason: thirst, hunger, cold, hot, a hug, and of course now he's almost 2 years old and he sometimes plays,
yes.
and it's very clear when he's making a joke and pretending that he's crying.
Yes.
And it's really theatrical, I know that he's just playing.
Yes.
And it's okay. We just have a laugh about his crying, but the crying is not necessary.
No, and it's not to tell women that if their child is crying that they're doing something wrong. It's just that a lot of I guess stress for the child could be eliminated.
Absolutely.
If we just paid a little more attention. And that was another theme that was coming to me this week was attentive parenting. Attentive parenting in a distracted society.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That I have to make a note here as well for the listeners. I know that there have been many speakers in this conference, but specifically on this point, Dr. Chilton Pierce talks about and confirms what you are saying on this subject of children need never to cry, and this attention parenting in a distracted society is just his point. So, science is backing up what you are receiving from source.
Wonderful. And I might have been tapping into his talk or whatever, who knows, right? So that's great. So there's validation there. Wonderful.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Great. Yeah. So I'm just finding this space of peace right now. Yeah.
I really want to continue digging on this concept, this programming the children.
Yes.
And I think we've been going around the concept of how to honor the wisdom of the children.
Yes.
So I know that you have lots to say on the subject. So,
yes, I do. When I was first introduced to this concept was reading the book The 4 Agreements with Don Miguel Ruiz. Oh. And within the context of one of the agreements, he was talking about how we have, as society, domesticated our children like dogs. Mm-hmm. And that was really profound for me. It was like my first introduction to the fact that we've been programmed, and for many years I've been working with kind of unraveling my own personal program. And if we think of our children as, and some people may not want to do this, but we're going to say I'll talk about myself. I'm a computer.
Yeah.
And I have a base operating system.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had this operating system installed in me. And the operating system came from my ancestry. So it was from many generations that this operating system was formed. And so I operate from this operating system when I'm not allowed to create my own programming. And I don't know if you've read the series of books, Anastasia, The Ringing Cedars Press.
No, but do not drop me an email on that, and I put it in the page where this will be published, so that people get access to this book.
Sure, absolutely. So these books were written, and there has been no marketing done on these books, and they sold, I think, 10 million copies in the first few years in multiple languages, because the energy of what's in these books is very profound. And so this woman, Anastasia, has a child in the Siberian north or whatever. I don't know what you call that. So she's raising this child, but she has this baby and then just lets it do whatever it needs to do. So it's in harmony with nature. It's in harmony with the animals. When it's hungry, it comes and finds mommy. But then it sleeps with the animals. It sleeps with nature. At one point, an eagle takes it and carries it up above the earth so the baby can see what the earth is like and things like this. Now, some people say that there really is this woman, that she does exist. And some people say that it's fiction. But if you read the series of books, if you're like me, you'll feel that the energy in the book is very much truth in the series.
But even if it was a myth, it is truth.
Yes, right. And so, her process around parenting is just amazingly freeing. It is an honoring of the child. She is there to ensure that the child, isn't harmed in any way. And yet all aspects of the child's growth, they may trip and fall and they may do this and that, but that's part of the growth. And so the child knows, when it's ready to sleep. The child knows when it's hungry and wants something to eat. The child knows when it wants to start playing with the plants or whatever. So there's this natural rhythm that a child has, and it's allowing for that natural rhythm. My granddaughter, I was gifted with a grandchild when my daughter told me for many years she was never having children. And so we were gifted with having the granddaughter in our home for the first year of her life. There was a situation with both parents and, mommy needed to come and stay with us. So we got to watch this beautiful being blossom. And we also got to see our programming. We also got to see the programming of culture around that. And we also, I'm watching my granddaughter's rhythms in her body, and her rhythms do not match society. She doesn't want to sleep when society wants her to sleep. She doesn't want to eat when society wants her to eat. She doesn't want to be woken up to go to daycare. She wants her rhythm. Yeah. And so she'll tell you when she wants her rhythm, and she'll command and demand that you give her rhythm.
Oh, bless her.
Yes. She's a very powerful child. And she will be a force to reckon with in this world when she's older and, is able to express that in a greater way.
Yeah. That just remind me something that we were discussing, my husband and I, on the way to the midwife. Yeah. Our son is a little bit like that, and I think every single child or every single human being younger than 25 is like that.
Yeah.
That's what we have, all these ADHD and all these labels.
Yeah.
because they are refusing to comply because they are magical children.
Yes.
That's my opinion. And at some point I was scared for the future of my son, that at school they will not understand him.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's in daycare for a couple of months.
Yes.
And you cannot imagine what a blessed teacher he's got.
Wow. Mm.
You know, this morning my husband was taking him there, and this woman saw him from the window, came out and said hello with a big smile to him.
Wow.
And I was thinking, I know that this will be the case for my son forever. And I refuse to give my fear. I refuse to be afraid that he will get a bad teacher, he will get bad classmates. There will be bad people, bad, quote unquote. There will be people in another part of their spiritual journey, but they will be, you know, around.
Yeah.
Close to him, there will be sanctuary. Yeah. And, you know, that gives me peace. And I hope that people listening can get that for themselves, particularly the ones that are still pregnant and not yet with the baby outside.
Yes.
That you get peace, that your child will be surrounded by love.
Yes. Yes. And it's really beautiful that you shared that, because every experience is here to teach. And so even if he should come into some kind of challenging situation, it's almost like he has been given the foundation to bounce back into homeostasis really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he has this open ability to connect with you and remain connected with you and communicate with you his feelings and what's going on with him, I think that's the greatest gift a parent can give their child, is to remain really open and as neutral as possible, because if a situation should arise where, you know, the mama bear in you starts to come up, it's like, how do you work with that? Again, what's running you in that situation, right? Mm-hmm. Because whatever situation is coming up in his life is for his highest good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so how do you support him working through that or whatever and getting back?
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful what you're saying, because this openness and neutrality will allow us to look at the blessings, even if they look like bad things.
Yeah.
Because we're very quick to judge what is bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's not
Maybe
bad.
It isn't. Yeah. I'm going to share a little bit about detachment here. When I had my daughter, she was my only child, and so I was very attached to her. And then when I got older, I ended up with the opportunity to be a foster mom to 3 teenage girls at a time. And so it was a program where I got to move into a house, and the girls were already there. And I got to love in a very detached way, and it was the highest form of love I've ever felt in my life.
Wow.
Because I wasn't attached to them, so I could see things in a different way. And no matter what they came home with, I was able to go into that neutral space and be stronger for them than I could have been had I been attached. And so we could see it from this objective space. Yeah, it was phenomenal.
Have you managed to reach a level of detachment with your own daughter, even if, of course, now she's a woman?
I'm going to say it's a work in progress. And that's because I started the detachment process probably when she was in her 20s. So if we can work on detachment earlier, I would say that would be a really high form of love.
How do you do that?
How do we detach?
Yeah, how at least how did you do it with your daughter? Even if you did it when she was 20, still she's your only daughter, and that's
and she
serious spiritual challenge.
and because of the way she was raised and the life that she had, which I co-created for her, which she co-created for herself, it was a very stressful life for her. And so when she came in, when she was actually within me, she wanted to leave. So she's had many challenges in her life where she's wanted to leave. And so my attachment to her has been, I want you to stay. And I ended up going to a workshop, which was very powerful for me, where my daughter was not at the workshop, but I ended up in a dynamic with a woman who had similar things running that my daughter had. And so this woman did not want to stay. In fact, during the workshop, she wanted to leave. And I think we understand what I'm saying when I say that, right?
Yeah.
That she wanted to commit suicide. And so the workshop facilitator had us sit across from each other, and we had a dialogue. And by the time the dialogue was completed, I was blessing my daughter on her path and telling her that whatever she felt she needed to do, that she must do, and I would be okay with that. Because her path is her path. And who am I to interfere with that? Because when I interfere with her path, if she's asking for help, that's one thing. And if she's not asking for help, that's interference. And so right now, my daughter is still here. She is a mummy to her child. She's having difficulty, but she does ask for help.
Yeah.
And I would be very sad if she left. And yet I would honor that choice, if that was her choice. And so her wanting to leave has been my greatest teacher in detachment.
Wow. Wow. I honor so much your journey, and thank you so much for telling us. This is so profound and so private. Well, if you are able to overcome this and reach the space of neutrality, detachment, of letting go, I think we can all do it.
Yes. If I can do it, anybody can do it. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Thank you for giving us this sense of hope. Because I believe that it's very, I experienced that it's very, very easy to get attached to your child, and not attached to your child, but attached to your expectations of your child.
Yes.
So in your case, you had expectation to have a happy daughter, no? A person who wanted to stay. And of course, we all have that expectation.
Yes. I mean, we bring in new life with tons of this idea of beautiful potential, and that's the other aspect of divine parenting, is we're here to facilitate the fullest expression of their greatest potential. That's really our only job. But
this implies this detachment, this let go, this concept of their path is their path, not mine.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Time is just running really quickly. I'm just having such a great time with you, Susan. But ladies and gentlemen, because there are gentlemen in the line, and really respect you guys. There is so much more to hear from Susan, and she has been guided to develop a program, and she has been guided to give you access to it, and it's pretty amazing. So, Susan, please tell us what is that and how people can get their hands into that, and for what kind of people is it, etc.
Sure. Okay. Well, the program is called Becoming the Divine Parent, and it's kind of an introduction to the concept. It's looking at all aspects of divine parenting. Firstly and foremostly, divine parenting ourselves, in order to understand what we need, and then when we understand what we need, chances are we'll take that out into the world. So it's really working with divine parenting ourselves first, and then looking at the aspect of divine parenting others, including the infrastructures that are here to support us, and also looking at divine parenting the planet. So we look at those elements in a 12-week program. This program is actually for anyone who has an interest in it. It could be for young people who are looking to learn more about themselves and the world. It's about people who have children. It's about grandparents who want to shift their paradigm into a new way of looking at their children and grandchildren. It's really for anyone who has an interest. And what I'm guided to do is give this program to 50 of your participants, the first 50, and we will put up a link so people can sign up for that. And I'm really looking forward to working with, it's almost like a summoning where we as a collective start asking the questions that are really pertinent for the world actually right now. And when we start asking those questions, we start summoning the inner answers, because we're all very wise and very connected. And so it's bringing that format forward so people can use that at a later date. So this is a live program. It's going to start probably mid-August of this year, 2012, and it will run for 12 weeks. And depending on where the participants are in the world, I'm going to time the calls so that we can get the majority of people on them, because it really is a co-creative effort.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow. This is really very generous from you, Susan. I'm really excited that we found each other, and that you're giving this to these blessed people who are on the line. Susan, thank you very much for your time, for your wisdom, for giving this program to in general, you know, for these people and for all the other people who you will gather elsewhere, because it's important that this message comes across everywhere. And I wanted to give you the closing words. You know, use your intuition. Look at what has been discussed now and what still people need to hear.
Yes.
Please leave us with your words.
Sure. The blessings that the children bring us will change this world. They are here to teach. A child is never sick for the reasons that you think a child is sick for. The world will change if we start to meet our own needs. And as we shift in our own being, everything around us will shift, and it will move towards that which we have always desired. We just need to give it that opportunity.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Susan.
you, Blanca. This is amazing.
Thank you.
You're doing
so much. This is amazing.
Yeah, beautiful.
We are just building that opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. This is one little doorway.
Susan, a really warm hug to you all the way transatlantic and to everybody who is everywhere in the world. We have in every single continent people. So thank you very much, everybody, and let's join forces to build that opportunity for the future. Thank you. Goodbye.